Hello everybody and welcome back to the Refresh Point. My name is Ben and as always I'm joined by my constant co-host Steve. Steve, how's it going?
Going good. Looking forward to a little bit of a lazy summer, doing some traveling, vacationing, and some casual Weiss Schwarz.
Yeah, dude, you definitely look like it too. yeah. Alright, it's a little too much of a dig on an audio only, but you just look like took your hat off and like your hair is like Frieza or it's not Frieza, your hair is like a Super Saiyan over here.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'm just ready for a casual summer. Just like sinking into the couch almost. But yeah, of course. I got a little bit more to do before my casual summer.
True.
We got number one, got third at Duluth. Got him.
Well done.
And we what is it? This review list did a lot better than the previous review list, I promise, even though they both ended up on the third place team. Man. And yeah, so the Dr. Billy and I got third at Duluth, making a second bronze medal for the season. And just before this episode releases, I'll be hoping for good things from attending BSF New York, or sorry, BSF White Plains.
It's the state of New York.
This is the state of New York. Our blog's gonna add some further updates, and we'll go over an interesting standard deck commission. So go ahead and shuffle your decks, tap or cut, and we'll get right into the refresh point with some breaking news. Between last time and this time, me and the boys went to Duluth.
Yeah.
I had a maid outfit, and thankfully I didn't have to take any pictures of it because I just figured that if we won or got second or third, Bushiroad could take that picture for me.
And they delivered.
And they delivered.
Yeah, I mean, congrats. It's a good finish. The doctor was piloting his Atlas.
Dude, Jon is an absolute monster on that list. I swear. He was already he was already very good in Houston. The only loss he took at Duluth was when we all lost in semis.
Oof.
That was the only one.
That's crazy.
It's a classic curse. Undefeated in Swiss, lost to one of the teams we beat in semis.
Yeah.
Hate to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, not for nothing, but winning tournaments is very difficult. Everybody at the top is, they're all playing well. So
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing negative about getting third. So
No, we had a great time. We got another Shioko medal, and I have by the time you're listening to this, listener, there will be a new blog post on our blog, refreshpointws.blog, that I did a write-up about both my tournament run, why and how I ended up on this review list, and also just a general conversation about analyzing Springfest lists in general. And we'll dive into more of that sort of behavior in the Spike Corner, where we'll put all of our nice content at the end for you to listen through all of our stuff to listen to. Get the full Refresh Point experience. You don't just listen to the Spike Corner and tune out instantly. In fact, every single one of you that I see in the YouTube statistics where you listen to the first 10, 15 minutes, drop off, it's 50% of you. Yeah, I see you. Yeah. You don't listen to the Spike Corner. It's all good. You just get your little...
They're getting... You know what?
Get a little jokes, get a little quips from the breaking news section, and then go home. That's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
That's all good.
We're like the news for Weiss Schwarz. Turn it on real quick. Okay, I got the high level.
Whatever, man. Yeah, that guy's talking about review again, and like that other guy is like talking about all the old Weiss again.
The 5 people who play Review Starlight, I'm sure, listen to every podcast with bated breath. Is he gonna do it?
They're so excited.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Somebody messaged me right after the top. He was like, "Man, you inspire people." And I was like, "Man," or like, "You inspired me, man." I was like, "Man, that's great." But yeah, it's great that it was this list that went 7-2 and not the other one that went 3-6.
Unironically, not for nothing, I like the other list better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, well.
We shouldn't use results-based thinking, but...
Okay. I like the other list concept better generally. Like Pants Store the list.
Yeah.
Not that specific because that specific Pants Store list in Houston, garbage.
Really?
Don't like it as much. No. I fine-tuned it, right? Like I'd been playing it for like a couple months, and I was like, okay, we're gonna fine-tune this Pants Store list to be, best that we can get it. And so the pants that I like, in general, the Pants Store list that I had finished fine-tuning right before I threw it away like 3 days before the event.
Right, that one.
Yeah.
The good one.
The good one, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a fun list. It's a great list. Have a good time with it. But, as we will talk about, and as you can read right now, if you like reading and listening at the same time, we kind of full sent it on Duluth. But yeah, before we get to that, let's do a little bit of ambitious deck building.
Yeah, we needed to because we were so busy getting medical treatment last week. We didn't have room to cram in any ambitious deck building.
Yeah,
but there's some room to operate this week. So
there's some room to operate indeed. So to update on our consistent customer, Bromyos. All right, your Guilty Gear Strive list, honestly, kind of just fine.
Yeah, I think there's always small adjustments that can be made for cards that you feel are more valuable. I think ultimately the conclusion that I came to after playing it at several events was the standby parts of it just didn't come up that often. Like, every once in a while I would get a little bit of juice out of it, where I would get a bike in, or I think I got early RAM maybe like 2 games in 20 where I got RAM before I hit level 3. But I have a problem with standby in Guilty Gear. The list that Ben is currently piloting is about the only time I've seen it be truly and powerfully effective. But for the most part, if the only thing that the standby is doing is producing Baiken sometimes and RAM very sometimes, maybe like 1 turn before, I don't know. It costs you a lot of damage to do that. So you already kind of have to be ahead. The mid game needs to be going well to begin with. So I'm not sure I would. I've always liked Pants Bar better, and I think adding a 3rd climax didn't change anything for me in that regard. I do think that there is room for standby in some builds, but overall, like, the list is totally reasonable. When you're playing 3 climaxes, you do have to kind of do a little bit better mental tracking, and a lot of times you will need to sculpt more climax swaps than you like. But yeah, overall, totally fine.
Yeah. And on your Alice Gear Aegis list, again, we've heard your plea, and I will get onto it right after this tournament. So actually, by the time you're listening to this, I'll actually probably have a list. But we can't talk about it right now, because right now I'm preparing for New York. And fresh off of preparing for Duluth. So the timing for reading Japanese cards and committing them to memory has been short, for the most part.
Yeah.
But I hear you, and I already know. Obviously, in Japan, I already fought the 8 standby variant. and I understand what those cards do, and so most likely not going to play standby with it. It's probably going to be looking at the rest of the rest of the card pool to try to find this not single climax configuration deck. I got you. Just give me a little more time. And on the notion of giving us some more time to cook with cards that we're not especially familiar with is Carmen's commission, who came in hot. They were like, I don't know. I don't really need to commission anything from you guys. I might just cash in more first seconds and stuff. And then one day, he's like, wait, I got something. And I should have pulled it up. You know what?
Yeah. Grab the
I want to quote you properly. So let me. Yeah. We'll not misquote you for sure. But
this will be by far the most difficult deck commission we've ever had to deal with.
This is insane as a deck commission. This is gonna be crazy. In essence, we mentioned that it was a standard commission at the top of the show, and that's because they want a commission for the standard format, which, number one, bruh, standard. Ugh.
So for those of you who have never ever done any of the other Weiss formats, standard is the format where you can play all the cards together.
Yes.
Except for a limited ban list, everything else can just be mashed into one glorious mash.
Yeah, and so the goal specifically is to break the English standard format. And the commission text says, construct a deck that executes a strategy so degenerate and possibly loopable that it effectively wins on the spot, typically forcing its opponent to concede. Now then, previous example listed was a build on the WCC YouTube channel. Gang in Australia had a very, very lovely deck where, as long as you had the correct hand, one card left in deck, and you were level 2, you instantly won. Because you could loop any card you wanted from the waiting room back into your hand infinitely, including cards that go to stock so you can pay cost for things. And in the short answer is, they use that in order to make the opponent play rock, paper, scissors infinitely. With the Kazuma card from Konosuba. Because they would just get it back from the waiting room and be like, play rock, paper, scissors to me. And then you played rock, paper, scissors, and either they burned you for it or they didn't. And then they played over it and went back into the waiting room. And then you got it. And then you played it again. And there's no stopping it. Because there's no counterplay. Because this is all main phase adding. And so you just kept playing rock, paper, scissors until you scooped. Because now you're just playing rock, paper, scissors forever.
Yeah, and eventually they're going to win enough to burn you to death or whatever, or force you to refresh. But
the goal is to find...
We're going to do something equally horrible if we can figure it out.
If we can figure it out, ideally.
The
few different things about this setup as well. This was made like 4 years ago or so.
Yeah.
Where like consistently setting up a one card deck at level 2 or higher, I guess, is probably... Would it be easier?
I don't think it's gotten any
easier then.
I don't think it's gotten
now.
any harder.
Yeah.
No, like it's just I mean, we're not getting worse manipulation. Like we're getting better and better cards.
I guess that's true. I guess manipulation is better over time.
Yeah.
I just meant like the damage push in the game as like a sum total.
Yeah, but like
you
getting
probably
down to one card in the deck in deck 2 feels very easy.
I guess that's fair. So yeah. Probably.
There's a guy that pitches a pants to check 5 as an act.
that's true. You're not wrong. So fair enough to you. But that's the goal.
Yeah. So the trick with going infinite in any game is you need to generate more of a resource than it costs you to use it.
Yes.
So we're gonna need a way to produce 2 stock out of 1 card or 2 cards out of 1 card.
Yes.
So, I'm sure there are ways, and it will be challenging to dig through it, but I guarantee events will be involved.
I mean, yeah, so...
Events are where bad stuff happens.
Yeah. I mean, in the original WCC list, right, the way that it worked is that there's the lie detector event, and there's a Disgaea shuffleback event. Now, lie detector, I think it's like a no game, no life card. I don't really know. I don't know sets or cards, but it's called lie detector. It's like the lie detector game, and it says, all right, your opponent will say something, will look at the top card of their deck and say something about it, right? What level it is. And you have to tell if they're lying or telling the truth. And if you guess correctly, then you get to draw 2 cards. Now hear me out. It's standard. So we can just scry the top of the opponent's deck. And then we can know whether or not they're lying. And so lie detector is a card that becomes 2 cards.
Right.
Congratulations.
But
All
how
right.
do we consistently scry the deck? I guess is the question.
Their deck?
Yeah.
It won't mill their deck.
Oh.
Why would we ever touch their deck again?
Right.
We just need to know the top card of their deck the one time.
Right, and then we get to draw 2 cards?
Oh, we can do more than that. So now we have the Disgaea event, which shuffles back 4. So this is how it's going to go down. With the combination of 2 lie detector events, 1 Disgaea event, 1 way to check their top of the deck, we're going to make our 1-card deck a 5-card deck. That 5-card deck will be 2 lie detectors, 2 shuffleback events, and then we're going to say, hey, what's that card on top of your deck? Great, draw 4. All right, few different scenarios. We drew the last unknown card. Now we know what the last card is. Now we know how to shuffle back perfectly so that we can always keep the loop going of drawing 4 cards. You need all 4 lie detectors to be available, so they can't be stuck in your clock or your stock. But if they're not stuck in your clock or your stock, and we can just shuffle them back, then we're in business.
Right.
And like that video has like the full total like visual explanation of it, which will be linked below. But yeah, in like a very painfully slow way, because you'll force the opponent to cut or tap your deck every time you reshuffle the entire deck, and then you need to keep looping so that even if you don't draw the card that you need, you're still going to shuffle back more cards so that you can keep the draw loop going until you luck into drawing the card that isn't a lie detector or the Disgaea event, so that you can play that card and then play rock paper scissors with them and make them hate their life and do that forever.
See, I wonder if there's a more efficient way to do this. Because
it has been 4 years.
Yeah, also
Maybe 5 actually. I think it was 2019.
So like
video.
The draw engine for this is very nice. And
Yeah.
so it can ensure that you will have the like whatever the 5th card is, as long as that card does something for free.
No, it doesn't even matter. Because if the last card, like after you draw the 4, and then the last card in the deck is a lie detector, then you can guaranteed shuffle back just 1 lie detector, 2 shuffle back events, and then a card that you want. Or I think it would be 2 lie detectors. No, you just need 2 lie detectors in the deck. So yeah, the 1 lie detector, 2 shuffle back events, and another card that you want.
Yeah.
And so you can access every card in your waiting room given enough time.
Yeah, and so what I mean is that like instead of having the rock paper scissors, I'm sure there's a faster, more expedient way to end the game.
I mean, yeah. I mean, even in that list, he includes the P4 the P4 burn 1 event.
Yep.
That
I was
like
thinking about Tartarus, yeah.
Yeah. It like rests a guy, and then you burn 1, and you can give somebody like minus power or something, but that doesn't matter. And then he just runs like 2 or 3 cards that send themselves into stock. So hear me out. We also have infinite stock, just in case you forgot. Infinite stock up to a certain limit, right? You can only run so many of the like go to stock cards, but they exist. So
Yeah. There's got to be a faster way to kill them. But
yeah, I mean we'll have a way to cook.
Right.
Yeah, and
It'll be difficult to improve on that. Because
I mean, yeah, like The engine does just work. If you get to the 4 cards in hand that you need, 1 card left in deck, and all 4 lie detectors in availability, right? As long as all 4 lie detectors are available, and you only have 1 card left in deck, we did it.
Yeah.
We did it, Reddit.
All right, cool. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun exercise.
I think the fun thing to do will be to find a different engine.
Yeah.
Because it's been a few years. They've printed more cards. A lot of them people say are broken. And so surely there's a new infinite hand engine we can figure out in standard somewhere.
Yeah. I think what's worth taking away from this is that old events are broken.
That's also true.
Like the biggest.
And to be fair, this one is specified for English standard.
Yes,
we don't get all of the super weird, wacky, broken JP events either.
Yeah. So the strange part about Weiss over time is that events have become more normal.
Yeah.
They started insane.
Yeah, true.
There's so many insane events that were in the first 5 years of the game where you're just like, oh my god, we definitely shouldn't have done that. So
Buds for luck, anybody?
Yeah, that wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah, true.
But what I will say is, I wonder if there's some kind of mechanism around giving encore to something that shouldn't have it that will allow you to loop infinite.
Ooh.
Like giving hand encore to things and then having it re-enter play over and over again. I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, it would have to like come into play +2 or like +3 even, because you have to hand encore it to.
Well, if it's 2, then it's even, right?
Oh yeah. True.
As long as we're even, we're good. If we're plus at all, then like you now are generating an infinite resource. So. Right.
Yeah,
I'll be interested to see if there's a way to like.
It would have to be a card that generates value come into play, right?
Yeah. So I'm not sure that that's.
But I mean, to be fair to you, I mean there are a lot of sacking mechanics.
Yeah.
And there are hand on court and middle mechanics.
Yeah. There's also. I think there's a way to give.
Possible.
I think there's a way to give clock encore too.
Clock encore. Oh wait, no, it would be the Shiro, right?
I think. Yeah. Shiro gives it to masters.
Okay. Well, that's only masters though.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Yeah.
Okay. We can workshop this.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to Neo standard, our familiar home. It's the Spike Corner. And actually the funniest part is we entered the Spike Corner, but I did some real Timmy behaviors entering Duluth last weekend.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Yeah.
If you're unfamiliar, and it's even I did link it actually in my blog post.
Did you?
Yeah. So if you're unfamiliar, Magic designers over time figured out R&D figured out they call it the psychographic profiles. I think they're Magic players, and there's 2 articles from Mark Rosewater on them that I would highly recommend you read. But very, very like quick essence again explanation. Timmies are like players that want to see the cool thing happen. They're like playing more for the social aspect or enjoyment. And they want to see either like big creatures go off or powerful effects go off, like maybe once every 10 games or so, and do that sort of thing. And they're just there to chill and hang and enjoy like the card game with their friends. In the original context, Magic. And Johnnies were like, they wanted like deck building was the game, and like they wanted to express their skill at deck building. And in many different contexts. Maybe it's like wanting to get a combo off. Maybe it's trying to fine-tune something else.
Yeah, whenever I think about Johnny, I never think about Johnny. Johnny doesn't derive, he doesn't derive satisfaction from quantity of wins. He derives satisfaction from quality of wins.
Correct.
Where it's like, 30% of the time, I get to do this thing where I draw infinite cards. And it's like, that's what, he wants to crack that thing off. And whatever it takes to get it.
Which is different from Timmy, who generally is like...
Timmy just wants to play a 10-10 with Trample.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to win big. where he's like in a dramatic way.
Or just resolve the one spell that does something super big, but isn't necessarily concerned with like the way to get there, like a Johnny.
It's not, it's not like combo intensive. It's just like, and then I put out this thing that's really cool.
Exactly. And then Spike, which is what the Spike Corner is named after.
That's our boy.
He's the competitive player that just wants to win, and that's how they derive their enjoyment from the card game.
Yep. Win no matter what.
Yeah, and so I deviated a little bit. Well, I guess it would be like, I guess I would call it like a Timmy Spike behavior.
It was one of those things where like one of the things that came out of the doctor's visit was data.
Yeah.
And the problem with people like us, and by people like us, I mean people who are in the IT industry, we will see some data and we'll be like, oh, baby.
Oh.
That looks like a conclusion that I had not anticipated.
Yeah.
Maybe I should lean into that.
Yeah. And so
maybe there's some room to operate there.
Maybe there's some room to operate. So if you look at the third place Review Starlight Duluth list, you'll notice that there's a new standby combo. That standby combo is my waifu, Mahiru Suyuzaki, also being held up in that same like maid outfit photo.
Remember that Ben was. There might be confirmation bias in here, but there's also data in here.
Yeah.
He wanted this to work.
I wanted to see how much it could possibly matter because, like, basically the week before, I had built a version of like pants standby door for fun. I was like, let's just fuck around with this idea for a sec, and then we'll just rebuild our regular pants door list before we go to tourney. All's well ends well. And then we did math. And I was like, man, those Aki odds suck. I wonder how much one defensive scry existing on the board affects the math. And so, basically, like almost right after like we finished recording, I spent a day with the doc, and we wrote some scripts, and we made it so that the script would run and do math on triple Aki with various parameters, but with correctly working defensive scry, which is when you take damage, look at the top card of your deck and put it in the waiting room or back on top. Now then, because check timings don't exist between multiple burns from the same effect, if, for say, an Icy Tail from Aki hits and it burns twice, both of the burn ones resolve first, and then you'll get to scry 2 times, because even though there wasn't a check timing, there were still 2 instances of damage.
Yeah, we primed 2 triggers.
Yes. So we made all that logic work. We made it so that it basically scried clean cards, left climaxes on top, all that fun stuff. Nearly across the board, like 20% reduction in like dying.
Yeah, because it turns out the way you actually die to Aki isn't from getting burned 1 to death. It is from getting vanillaed to death.
Yeah. And it turns out if you burn me 1 like twice, and then I get to scry 2 clean cards away, and maybe you trigger for 4, it's not as likely to hit in like a regularly compressed deck state.
No, that's the thing, is that the reason this works well is because how you typically die to Aki is he will burn some and he will fish some climaxes, and then a vanilla will come down and the game accelerates out of control at that point. If you were at like 2-5 and then you take like 1 or 2 Aki burns and then a 3 comes down, it's like, it's over. It's just like your chance of living from 3-4 is just non-existent. But if you block all of the 3s and 4s consistently, he has to hit so many climaxes in order to like burn you to death that it becomes nearly impossible to lose that way.
Yeah. And so, because it's Springfest, and because, we love playing the card game, why not? And and this is like the confirmation bias, like, thing that happened was that I had like a test game or it wasn't even a test game. It was like a for fun game. I was just playing a game with Billy with the list that I did not anticipate like bringing to Duluth.
Right.
And it got to a point where it is 4 pants, 2 standby, 2 door, like a reasonable-ish thing. You have events that salvage the door. You have 4 pants to get you climaxes anyway. Pretty reasonable. Got to an end game state where I milled out like 90% of this deck, and like there's 2 doors and 5 cards, and I want to shoot myself.
Right.
And I was just like, man, that sucked. And Billy was like, I mean, why not try 3-2-3? I see the look on Steve's face. and because I wasn't thinking about it too hard, it was just a for fun list. We'll just play it. I don't care. Just why not?
We
Whatever.
only use the data that supports our conclusions. We never think about any of the other data ever. Please never build this climax configuration unless you really got a good grip on what you're doing here.
Yeah. So if anybody else were to build this list, I would in fact recommend you play 4 pants, 2 standby, and 2 doors. You have 4 pants. You have 3 events that salvage the door. We can, you know, massage this into working properly with some practice and good play. It's okay. Now, I didn't do that. What happened was I finished doing the math. It's 3 days before we fly. And I'm like, all right, I guess I just don't change this back into the vanilla list. This also meant that I was left with all of my poor deck building decisions made while making the quote-unquote for fun list. Case in point, the climaxes. Case in point number 2. There's 4 fucking level 0 bombs, which, like...
I don't hate it.
It's funny. I feel like Giraffe is still, like, a great card that should be in at, like, a 2, and the bomb goes back to 2.
Yeah, this deck not having Giraffe is cringe.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like, I'm putting 2 giraffes back in instead of 2 bombs.
I'd rather have the giraffe than this drop salvager, but not for nothing.
No, I definitely need that bitch. Yeah, no, we needed a little bit more hand fixing than the, like, 2 cards that previously existed. And also, not for nothing, that drop salvage is like a 4K if it mills 2 characters and some incidental deck speed, which kind of helps massages the weird game states that ever come up. Sure.
I guess there's a perfectly fine Ricky that could be at 4 here.
I know.
And there's a perfectly fine Helmet that could be at 4 too.
4?
Or not 4, but 2 rather.
Okay. All right.
You
okay.
only
All right.
have 1. I mean, you're never gonna get it.
I definitely get that bitch all the time.
And then there's an Undead Koski that's not at 4. Like,
yeah.
Maybe.
No.
I mean, I don't hate this drop salvager, but like, it doesn't do a lot.
No, like, your 1 combo is not selective. That bitch, like, fixes the hand to the specific card often.
If you're checking 4 and consistently not finding anything you want to play, that's not great.
Yeah. Well, it's not that, but there's just, like, there's times. And yeah, and in this specific deck list, obviously, because I made the poor decision of playing 3 pants, 2 standbys, and 3 doors, pants combo not always gonna happen, as it turns out.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so this specifically kind of worked out fine, but I agree with you that you could probably take those 2 slots and adjust if we're playing like the regular 4-2-2 split. I liked it though. It definitely felt fine to me, except for the 1 game where it milled out the 2 cards I needed to search after I salvaged the card that searches.
Terrific.
It was like a 12-card deck, and I had to like scry. So I had already scried off the what is it? The discard, check top, see the level, salvage.
Right.
And I was like, okay, as long as the second copy is not the next card, everything's fine. Second copy was the next card. But yeah. So unlucky.
Yeah. What I will say about this standby combo is it's extremely unique in the Weiss landscape to have a standby straightener with a whole ass other ability that's extremely good.
Oh yeah.
And it has Encore. So
she gives everybody soul.
Yeah, like it's just really good. Like this card is just really good.
It's a nice card.
Not for nothing, but like not to feed into like Ben's desire to play this card. But like it's not a bad card. Like it does everything you want a standby target to do. It slows the game, it gives you damage, it can immediately attack so you don't lose like value. You derive immediate value. So like yeah, card's great.
Now, and so I was talking about it and with the other review enjoyer in the area. Or I guess there's multiple now because apparently there's some newer players that they're out of town for uni, but then they're back in town to be at home, and they're a review enjoyer. So shout out to you. But I was talking with our other review enjoyer, and I was like, frequently what would happen is the standby solves the problem that it itself created, in that the deck is clunkier because the climaxes are clunkier, and like the flexibility is clunkier. And like we have less tech cards and less fixing, but at level 2, all I need is standby, and all of a sudden I have a board that's okay. And who's playing 1-bombs, and who's playing, you know, some people even forego the anti-early counter, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
And Chainsaw Man doesn't have an anti-early counter, so I was like, okay.
I'm sure they have one, they just don't care.
It's a discard 2,
Is
like
it?
bottom
Oh yeah,
deck.
it's level 1, right?
Yeah, it's level 1 too. It's a nice anti-early counter. They just don't care.
Why would you?
Yeah, but what that also means is that in my expected matchup at the time, which was like Chainsaw Man, this thing reduced my odds of dying, and they frequently did not play counterplay to that thing.
True.
So I was okay with this. And what happened was I fought Chainsaw Man once in 9 games. It became a mirror matchup for our boy Billy in Seat B. While I played Chainsaw Man once in quarters, she was also in Dallas literally 3 days before for a work conference. And so
Nice.
we had fought each other. And so technically, she also had gotten some practice into the list.
Wow. It's like the what are the odds type thing.
Yeah. No, it was hilarious. But yeah. I think I would only entertain this idea while Overlord and Chainsaw Man and things of this ilk are kind of still in vogue, I guess. While people don't think cost 1, bombs are worth running, and they're playing less into anti-early counters and this sort of thing. And I can be like, great, here's a level 3 at 2. You forgot about that. That other decks did that thing that you could have counterplayed, but you thought about Overlord too hard.
Yeah, I think in general, I don't know. I always run anti-early because Eins.
Yeah.
But
I think the counters were available for the most part, but
Yeah.
because she gives soul to the whole board, frequently you can just play around that because you just side for joy.
Just side
yeah.
for whatever.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like the approach. I think it's good. I think there's definitely some things that will not work well, but there's a number of decks that really need the game to accelerate it too. And if this card kind of doesn't really allow for that, you'll just get an unnatural amount of blocking if you could get 2 of them down. It'd be insane.
Yeah,
Like
this deck is obviously built around like having the 1
Right.
to kind of like patch your mid game up a little bit.
Right.
Because the quote unquote the math was like, yeah, I mean 1 reduces your Aki death by like good 20%, so why not force them to have the bounce?
Yeah, I think in general it works really well against that type of packet structure where it's like a bunch of small packets followed
We
by
haven't done the math, but I'm actually certain that it would still be pretty okay into Gura too.
I think it's worse against Gura. Like you would notice it less because all the packets are going to come down on you before.
Well, no, it's 2-1-1.
Right.
And then you get to scry 3 times if you took all of it.
Right. What I mean is that if you... The 2-1-1 is a lot more than Aki produces.
That's true.
generally.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. The only upside is that there won't be 3 of them.
True.
Like, if there is, the game's doomed. But
yeah, I mean, the game is already over.
It's already over if you're staring at that. You're just like, well, it's fun while it lasted.
Yeah, exactly.
Goodbye.
See you later.
But yeah, I think it's less good in those contexts, but not bad.
Yeah.
It just depends on where you are. And like, not for nothing, if you get lucky blocks on any of the 2s, then you're starting to dramatically increase your chance of living, because you'll still get 2 scries, and then blocking what is likely to be 4 is really important at that point. Because that's how you get chewed up by that combo. So yeah, I like it. I also like it in the face of decomp.
Right.
So like anybody playing stock swap, Fumio, some kind of nonsense, I'm thinking like Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Or Bang Dream, any varietal, some Hololive. Like there's like Brucia works well against that. So yeah, I think in the face of those type of tools, it's also kind of nice. But yeah, I'm never gonna hate defensive scry. I think defensive scry is excellent.
Yeah.
But if
I'm sure I'll cook like a different version of playing this whenever, something like that comes back around. I think
Are you gonna run this again in New York?
No. We'll talk about that after we're done with Duluth.
Okay.
All right. Because also, speaking of Hendrickson, shoutouts to Long, who I had previously met at the Post Worlds tourney, who won with his team. It was a Strictly Broken team. I think they got recently sponsored. It was like Long, Hung, and man, the name weakness got me again. The Overlord player, but
yeah, so,
I don't remember your name. I'm sorry.
That's a nice. I mean, this is a great set of decks, and it's a win for Overlord.
Yeah, dude. Like Hendrickson, Overlord, and Chainsaw Man. Not bad. Chainsaw Man player, I think, was like 3-3 Swiss, but then carried top 8 alongside. And Hendrickson did well, and I think Overlord did well throughout the day, but I didn't get to talk to him as much. But yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Good
the
stuff.
first Springfest win for Overlord. But it's been flirting with the top 4 all season, so that's really good. There's as many Himeno Akis as you would anticipate there being.
I think there's 5 or 6.
6.
Okay. 6.
But there's a weird thing happening in this tournament that I don't understand. There are 2 slimes in the top 5.
Yeah.
And one of them got second.
Yeah, I know.
And they're playing a Shizu deck.
Yeah, they are.
Which is really fucking weird.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you'd do that. But
I played him. He just didn't like playing Muron as much. And like he didn't feel good about playing it when he got rushed. So like he felt like he couldn't stabilize if he got to 2 too fast.
I guess.
And so he just wanted to play Shizu. And I think that sort of thing is a testament to all like the small decisions of everybody that used to play Muron, which is explaining why you don't see as much Muron. Not that it's not a good deck. It's still a very good deck. But just for one reason or another, Weiss is a smaller game. If the good players that used to play Muron decide to play something else, for whatever reason, there's just gonna be less of it.
Yeah, I think maybe there's some fatigue setting in with playing the same type of deck for basically what amounts to a year plus now.
I mean, yeah. Like, I played Review this season. I went to Worlds on Slime. Another player he qualified to Worlds on Slime, but he just played Azure Lane to Worlds. And the second place, like, Worlds, Billy, he got put on CSM duty on our team.
Yeah, I am concerned that, people forgot that deck's good, and they think that there's something that's changed to make that deck bad, like maybe Chainsaw Man's introduction to the meta, or something else. But I'm here to tell you that, yeah, I don't play without Muron. That does not that does not sound good.
Shoutouts to that guy. He had definitely a massive lapse in judgment in our Swiss game. We didn't get to rematch in top 8, but in our Swiss game, I was definitely counting his climaxes, and he definitely miscounted his. And even if he miscounted his, afterwards we debriefed because he's going into a turn. He's at 2-4. And I'm looking at his deck and I was like, man, that deck is clean as a whistle. And he plays the hand to stock, sack, check 4 Milam. And I was like, everything is saved. And then he vanilla swings with it. And I was like, my God, it's fucking over again. And I was like, what? And afterwards I was like, wait, why? And he was like, I mean, I thought there was one left. I thought I would just end at high 3. I didn't know what your finisher did. And let me tell you, if you don't know what the enemy finisher does, you know what? Even if you do know, or if you don't know, 1 in 9 is not good.
No.
1 in 9 is not good.
Just clear the deck.
1 in 9 is not good. It's not.
9 after attacks?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I could have sworn. 1
in 12, please.
Like, please. I was like, dude, that's the guy. You had to fix it. He had like 7, 8 stock. He could have even paid 3 for it afterwards, after the hand of stock, and just still been at like 6 stock at the end of the turn. Like, it would have been fine. Just kill it, please.
Yeah,
please.
This is the type of thing that happens when
it was like around 5.
Yeah,
I think.
this can be the type of thing that happens with some Weiss players where. Or in some Weiss circumstances, where like you will see a deck that has blocks or could block, but if it doesn't, like let's take a less egregious scenario. Let's call it 2 in 8.
Yeah.
You don't leave a 2 in 8 if the game is reasonable. If you're behind and you need to gamble a little, fine. Leave it. But I am telling you, if you leave a 2 in 8 deck pre-attacks and you decide to go into that and just attack, I guarantee that it just feels like you were taking a really unnecessary risk. The math obviously is variant, but small sample sizes will make a devil out of the math. And if you double trigger in those situations, you just left 5 damage and you're going to eat all of it. And that is a risk you should not take. There is very little downside into, like, you want to mitigate the worst case scenarios in any card game. So whatever decision that you're making, you need to be comfortable with the worst possible version of that outcome, whatever it is. So if you see a 2 climax in 8 deck and you're about to start attacking, then you need to have a plan for when you double trigger. Because if you double trigger and your plan is oops-a-daisy, then you just lost the game. Because you just took a level worth of damage for free. And you should never put yourself in a situation where the worst possible outcome is lose the entire game. Unless you have, 1, no way to deal with it, or 2, you're already behind enough and you don't have the resources to commit to any more plays. Those are the situations. That's it.
Yep.
Anything else is wrong. Like you're taking unnecessary risks. Can it work out? Of course it can. Of course you can attack 3 times clean, block twice, leave the bottom card as damage, get all 8, whatever, get the best case scenario, right? That can happen. But you shouldn't gamble the game on it. You shouldn't take those kind of risks unless there is no other way to play the game out. And infrequently there is another way to play the game out. There's a safer way that will mitigate those risks. Will you get less blocks? Sure. It's possible you'll get less blocks. But it's also possible that you will bail yourself out of some nightmare scenario where you don't get the blocks and you don't get the compression and you don't get anything, you just lose. And so there's a lot of ways to mitigate both versions of this. So let's say like you have Undeath Akatsuki in hand. Undeath Akatsuki mitigates both of these circumstances perfectly. Because on the one hand, You can attack twice with the other 2 characters before you decide what to do with the Undead Akatsuki. So if those 2 attacks are clean, then we just go in, right? Worst case scenario, we trigger a climax, then we get a block, then we get a refresh, and we get the middle ground circumstance. Or if all 3 attacks are clean, you just put that thing right in the waiting room and you don't worry about it too much. Mission accomplished. We got the best case. But if you double trigger, then it's gonna feel really good to be like, oh, and by the way, pitch mill 4 and I don't get giga punished. Like, I lose the
and if it's like giga bad, then even just pay 3 and just be like,
then I saved everything.
Yeah.
But if the climaxes are bar or pants, you can bail yourself out even further. Bar is even the best case scenario where you bail yourself out completely. You get the climaxes back if you don't want them, or you keep them because you want them, and you get the mill, and you solved all the whatever the problems were, you just solved them all. And so that's what we mean when we talk about these scenarios, is that, like, you need to understand that there's, like, a best case and a middle case and a worst case. And if the worst case is we lose the whole game, we don't do that, no matter what. We try our best to never do that.
And I'll tell you that, like, at the very least, you know, if you don't know what the finisher is, and you're just not gonna ask, like, I had a waiting room, like, you can look.
You should look at your opponent's waiting room if you don't know what their deck does.
Like,
the
it's
timer,
not like I'm gonna, we're on a timer.
The timer is aggressive. It's not that aggressive. You could take 30 seconds to find a level 3 with the climax combo symbol and be like, I wonder what this does.
Yeah. Like, I'm not, like, it's not like I'm gonna proactively be like, the second the finisher hits the waiting room, okay, here's a 3-2 Hikari, it changes the 2-1 Karen into the 3-2 Karen, the 3-2 Karen burns. That's what it all does. I have an event, also gets the door, right? Like,
that's it.
Number 1, that's it. Number 2, like, if you need to know that, and it's all visible, then you can ask.
Yeah. We're obviously not, like, going at this one player with purpose here. Like, we're not trying to flame this guy or make him look bad.
No, I mean, he clearly did well for himself.
But the thing,
like, throughout the day.
Thing is, these type of things happen literally every tournament. Every tournament, you will see your opponent make a play that makes your eyebrow go up because you're like, are you sure, my brother? This looks real risky what you're about to do.
No, okay, but what I will say, this tournament felt like a lot of that was going on all around. So, like,
Springfests always do. Springfests are a little more, they're a little more casual, so you get
that's
more
partially
YOLO play.
But that's also why I was talking in the blog and I was like, we really can't, please, like, don't look at all the top 8 lists and be like, wow, because, like, my brother, it's not like we're gonna go look at the Fate Manila list and be like, that's a list that'll clean up the locals. I'll fist fight, you know, Chainsaw Man Overlord with this and come out on top every time.
Yeah, it's tough. So, and in that vein, if you look at the 4th place team, the 4th place team is, of course, our boys from Louisiana.
Darkness.
And we have
Mume
Darkness,
Rushia.
Mume Rushia, and Danmachi Bardor.
Yep.
Not even Pantstor. These are the type of lists that terrify and upset me because they're the type of lists that come from far, far outside of your vision, and they blindside you with their mechanics.
No, dude, Rushia will fucking kill you if you don't remember what Rushia does. Like,
yeah.
Or if your deck just can't, like, mill out anyway, like, Rushia will kill you.
Everybody's gonna relearn that lesson when the Ruby Premium Booster comes out because there'll be a non-trivial amount of players that will jam that thing in there, and it's the exact same mechanics where you get to decompress your opponent's deck by shuffling cards in. So the standard play of leaving a climax with 1 card is going to get you killed, absolutely killed, and it's just one of those things where you're watching, like, very specialized decks being played by players who have played them a lot.
Yeah.
That's what shows up.
There was some questioning, I think, in a Discord somewhere to the Rushia player, and I mean, he really just set it up. He was like, I mean, it's a deck that I wanted to play and that I was comfortable with, and it's a deck that will punish many things.
Yeah, it's the type of deck that doesn't do anything. it's just like big guys vanillaing you, and then decomp. And so,
but it's a good amount of decomp. Like it's excessive decomp.
It's a lot of decomp. But at the end of the day, this is a deck's trying to land 4s. And so if you're disciplined and you play like conservatively against it and don't YOLO the game, it's gonna find itself a lot of times in positions where it can't win because the types of packets it tries to land aren't landable.
Yeah.
Like your opponent doesn't have the type of deck where those will land. They have and you're hitting for either 4 or 5 a lot of the time because your level 3s are cleaning the board. So like the minimum is 3, and you want to pants pretty much every time you can. So that's 4, and then if you trigger, which the deck has a ton of high level cards, that's 5. And so you're hitting 4s and 5s a lot. And sure, when one of them sticks, your opponent just dies a little inside, but or dies a lot on the outside.
There you go.
But it's risky. It's a risky build, and so you're taking some risks. But like the more comfortable you are with the deck, the better you're gonna perform.
I think he won basically all of his games except into Chainsaw Man.
Yeah,
which kind of makes sense. You know what? I can double check that. Let's not misrepresent that.
The rest of the top 8 looks pretty much like you'd think it would look. We have a triple standby or double standby bar, Guilty Gear. We have another person playing Shizu, so that those two people must be either from the same region or having the same idea in 2 different regions. But I already said my piece on it. I hate it.
Yeah, lost to just standard. Basically, whenever we saw Stock Soul Bar or Chainsaw Man die, and then also lost to an Atlo player.
Yeah, so like it's losing to the best decks in the meta because it's very difficult. So it's difficult to beat those decks, just period. Mm-hmm. I do see a standby door list here for Guilty Gear, which is kind of cool.
I fought him in round 6 of Swiss, and here's what happened.
Bro's got 4 of the promo. Respect.
Yeah, dude, he's got 4 secrets.
That's awesome.
That guy, you know, he had a very pretty looking soul that he stood by in the back row against me that I immediately froze.
Yeah.
And he lost the entire game.
Yeah, that's the problem with standby combo stuff right now is that there's a non-trivial amount of characters that will freeze them in the back row and they can't move. So
I don't, you know, there's a reason that drop search is in that review list, Steve. I could, you know, we like sculpting here and there.
That's it.
It's important.
It's not a search. It's a salvage.
It's you mill most of your deck out a lot.
Well,
it's important.
Yeah. In any case, the helmet could grab it. In any case,
the helmet is the freezer. We need to grab the freezer.
Yeah, we just run more.
Yeah. We're gonna discard like 4 cards to get a freeze effect. We did it.
If you win the game.
Actually, wait, no. If you have the helmet in your hand already, then you don't need to get another helmet.
Correct.
That doesn't matter.
Correct.
That's not how that works.
No.
But in any case, that game started with me ripping out 4 climaxes in a character, mulliganing down to only the standby in my hand, because that character is also unplayable, drawing another climax out and 3 more characters, and then, because...
Weiss Schwarz.
Milling... including that drop salvage and the classic, all the milling tools we can manage, and we get to the 1 combo. Like, I'm like looking down at the board at 2-1, and I look across. I'm like, okay, so we're both at 2-1. How do I have a full hand and you have 3 cards in your hand? And he's like, I don't know.
The answer is triple combos. Like,
no, I got like. I think I got either single or double pants combo. That was it.
Right, but the other thing is that with single or double pants combo, even single combo, like you're producing the exact same amount of cards as Jacko with 1.
Oh, true.
Like Jacko doesn't produce very many cards.
True.
The upside is it produces the cards you want.
True.
That's what we like.
That's what we like.
And you get a standby out of it, which not for nothing can produce some good stuff.
Yeah. But unlucky though. Review has a freezer.
Yeah, try not to get frozen. That's the worst part. Yeah.
But shout outs to you. It was pretty cool. But yeah, Duluth was a very fun tournament. I was in a maid outfit. It was very funny. And I got Bushiroad to take my photo for me so that I didn't have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing.
And if you want more, like, I have some game-by-game breakdowns, like very short statements, and more of an expansion, I guess, on like the idea that don't net deck a Springfest list. Just Probo's nothing, right? Like.
Yeah, I was talking with Shizukouts on Twitter because he was experimenting with Bunny Girl Senpai in a.
Yeah, the new set, right?
Yeah, he was experimenting with the 8-choice list and not the good one, the questionable one. But we were both kind of talking about that, and Weiss is an unexplored game for the most part.
Yeah.
Most players are going to look at Springfest lists and copy them, and then they're going to look at fall lists and copy them, and then they're going to look at Worlds lists and copy them. They're going to look at Twitter and copy them. They're going to look at JP and copy them. And there's nothing wrong with copying them because we all have to get started somewhere, but you have to tailor the deck for the meta, for the region that you're in, for the way that the game is played where you are in order to be successful. Like, we can't copy JP lists and expect to have the same kind of success. They don't play the game the way we play it. They don't. The ICE event taught us that. Like, they looked at us with horror as we would make the most lunatic plays imaginable. And they were like, why? Why take so much risks? That's just how we play.
The funnier part, yeah, the funniest one was the Ian play.
Yeah.
Where he like
an absolute psychopath.
Yeah. True. And then he won the game too.
Yeah.
Just like leaving his opponent in complete shambles, like
yeah,
like mindset wise. Like, why did you do this? And also, why did it work?
That's the thing. Is there's more than one way to win a Weiss Schwarz game, and there's more than one way to be good at Weiss Schwarz. But if you copy decks that from other places using other metas and then try to import them directly into your meta, sight unseen and card untested, you're gonna have a bad time. And that can only take you so far.
Yep. And so this is coming out after the fact, but to New York, I played Ino from Guilty Gear Strive. And even it's hot in here right now because we turned off the AC for background noise. But not for nothing, I do have the very nice MRH Ino jacket, which
honestly,
you'll hopefully see in like the top 3 photos where
bro,
I'll, like,
I'm here
show
to
it
tell
off.
you, I have looked at that jacket online about 20 times. It looks so nice.
It's a sick jacket. We love the hard rock witch, Ino.
The problem is we're coming into a Texas summer and.
It's not looking good for wearing it soon, but hopefully by the time this comes out, there will be a nice little picture of me wearing this jacket, having played the Ino list, which Avis, who runs Weiss Tea Time, has been playtesting since release.
Our absolute goat, without whom we would be completely in shambles.
Yeah. Shout outs to Avis. Shout outs to The more we've been doing this, the more people I've been like meeting and knowing and learning about.
You're becoming a big name in the Weiss community.
Big name? I didn't know about that, but I know some people, which is cool. And shout out, actually, before we pivot off, shout out to Anthony, who's the Adventure Time player. One of his homies got to Adventure Time, and so he played Kaguya instead with Pants Door, the door finisher, but also with events. And he got double lost round 1 by a slow-playing spy player. And, like, I'll tell you right now, if you're a spy player and you are taking more than, like, 5-10 seconds to look at these fucking Fionas, screw you, man. I didn't have to deal with it. The second he went, like, yeah, we got double lost by a spy player, I was like, motherfucker.
We're not pointing this at any one specific person, but yeah, there is a time limit, and please play.
There's a 35-minute double loss time limit. If you are playing Fiona, you have a responsibility to decide, not look.
I think also, and this is kind of like a tangent a little bit, but it's relevant. It's a bit cringe that Bushiroad doesn't have clocks available in the venue where you can see how much time there is. Because if I'm the other player, I don't want to get rude until the numbers look like I should. And
They
then
do. They
I'm
have
going
been.
to.
They have been much better, I will say, about calling intervals.
That's the thing, though. That's the weird part. And like Connor brought this up, and we talked about it at Houston because he was judging. It's annoying. They don't need to call it out if you just put the clock up there and we can all see it. That's how card games do it normally. Is that there's a clock and you
You know
look
the
at
funny part? I can't remember which regional. It was either a regional in EU or SEA. They did have a clock.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I'm gonna have to buy like not for nothing like a smartwatch or something.
No, they don't allow that. You can use an analog watch.
I'm gonna have to buy a stopwatch or something because something with alerts to tell me when things happen. Because yeah, it's untenable to not have access to the clock. I feel like I'm bothering a judge every round asking how much time is left. So yeah, Bushiroad would be better. Come on. Where's the competitive integrity? Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, and so a few months back, I was chatting with Avis, and we were talking about Ino, and I was like, I hadn't really explored this idea yet, but this does seem pretty cool. I'm not sure exactly how good it is, but like, yeah, we'll try it. And back then, I tried it for a few games. I was like, I like getting a door every single turn and then decomping my deck, or my opponent's deck, and then hitting them in the face with 3s and 4s and then sending them to like 3-2 with 4 stock. Feels pretty good! And then I played Review Starlight for 5 months. and then after Duluth, I was reminded, that's right. Belgium is the same weekend as New York. And we did tell each other that we wanted to get Ino at the top 8, 2 Inos in the two top 8s on the same weekend. Because it would be really funny. So for our last topic today, let's talk about Ino, as we've already been able to technically see the performance of it. Just not us sitting here in the studio. We don't know. But you all know, and so you can call us out for how shit it is or how great it is after it all kind of pans out. But Ino is a very interesting deck. I underestimated it, but I definitely think it's highly playable and pretty good. Exactly where it lands, I think I would probably have to take another month of playtesting with it, unironically, just to get more matchups, more games, more knowledge.
Yeah, I like what it wants to do because it happens faster than most standby combo things.
Yeah, the second you hit level 1 and you jam a standby.
Yeah.
Every turn after that should be an Ino turn.
Yeah, and so you're gonna get a level 3 early. And it's either gonna be 1 level early or 2 levels early. And the first effect, which is pay 2 and burn 2, is fine. It's completely fine. It's not great. It's just whatever.
Yeah.
The other effect is Fumio, which is is it
full refresh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just a refresh. So the value of that has high variability.
Yes.
There definitely.
But we'll say it's gain 1/5 cross turn on a 10/5 character, and you may refresh.
Yeah. You always get the power.
Yeah.
The refresh portion of it is dependent on game state, obviously.
Yeah.
If your opponent is in a position that they're going to block a lot, you can screw them over, which is nice. But sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just doesn't do anything. But frequently it does do a little bit of something. And also, if your deck is dependent on accessing the waiting room for certain things, it's very annoying.
Yeah, I fought this guy over here sitting next to me. He played Overlord into me for 3 rounds and wanted to shoot himself, because frequently what would happen is I go to level 1. He doesn't go to level 2 before I do because I'm playing standby, so I don't push damage. That's not a thing that I'm interested in doing. What is it? So I'll go to level, I'll get my 2-1 that changes into the Ino from any level out.
Yeah.
And then I'll look at his waiting room. He's like, huh, that's like 4 or 5 events. What if there were 0? How about that? How about we did that instead? And how about, we can even do this refresh after I level you first.
Yeah.
And then shuffle all of that clean clock back too.
Yeah. So that's really where it weaponizes the best and where it's almost guaranteed to produce value is landing damage that's going to push your opponent up a level and then refreshing them. Because almost certainly that is 6 or 7 damage cards going in to the deck, and there's very little you can do about it. So
this is one of the premier decks at forcing you to shuffle back your clean clock.
Yeah, and so if your deck needs to access the waiting room, like the Overlord is the worst possible scenario for decks that badly need to access the waiting room at specific timings, but there's others. If you shuffle back Aki when he's trying to do his turn, you can make things awkward for him when you shuffle back because they don't have super great deck access, that at least not cheap free deck access.
Yeah, they're gonna have to crack that Makima, sack brainstorm and pray heavily after that point.
Yeah, so there's a number of ways. There are a number of decks that need to grab stuff from the waiting room that can't, and you annoy the hell out of them when you try. Ben's Review deck, losing all access to its door, I'm sure is probably not great.
Probably not the best.
But also, not for nothing, this thing gets a door every time that it changes onto the board.
That's right, yeah. Every time it comes to play, grab the door.
Yeah, from the waiting room. And
I'm so incredibly spoiled by this deck already.
Yeah.
Because...
Don't even bother looking for climaxes.
Why would I?
Don't even bother holding climaxes.
No, I clock them.
I just jam them every single time I get one. Why? Fuck it. That's
yeah.
why.
No, if I draw into a door, it goes straight to clock or straight to discard.
Yeah.
Because it's about to come right back.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The boomerang effect of that's sick. The only downside to Ino is in the mid game, if you eat shit, then it feels kind of bad because you're going to be too far behind to really weaponize her to the maximum value. The change effect doesn't produce anything but a climax, so you have a hard time slowing the game once it starts to get off the rails. But assuming the game goes normal, which I think we played 7 games and I never saw Ben whiff it, coming onto the board at like the first standby is the 2-1 literally every single game. I don't think it's possible to whiff it.
I mean,
There's
we
4
have
of them.
on Death Akatsuki's, there's 4 of the 2-1s.
Yeah.
And
You can just brainstorm or whatever. Like you just make it happen. It happens every game. There's really no way
you
to
know what's
screw it.
really funny? So I went undefeated with this deck at 2 locals in a row for fun, I guess. And last night local, I had a game where I didn't draw the standby. And you know what happened? I went to level 2, played the 2-1 vanilla, changed into Ino, and started, giving them the business.
Yeah, that's the worst part is if you don't get the standby, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to play normal.
Yeah.
But
and even then,
it's always gonna come down early.
Yeah.
Oh, and not for nothing, but the other part of it that it needs to change is a punch. And
Dude, it's such a no, it's so funny. Okay, on Wednesday, I fought a Yotsuba player, and on stream, this guy caught just the most cracked out, insane Ino game, like tired Ino game imaginable. I wasn't even playing that well, but it was like the best case scenario because this deck runs like 6 million punches. The thing that changes the way that the Ino change works, because we haven't really specifically said it. You have this 2-1, you have this 1-0. They both go to the waiting room. The Ino comes out. When the Ino comes out, then you get the door. Now then, the 1-0 is a 2k counter. The 2-1 discards any card to search for the counter.
It's also worth mentioning that this 2-1 can be played regardless of whether you have the color for it or not.
Yeah, these are blue cards that don't have color requirements. So actually, joke's on you. They're not blue cards.
They're just gray cards.
They're just gray cards. And so, like, I had extra punches in my hand, and it's like the funniest thing. Because if you know your opponent's like one board doesn't really get over like a 7-5, you're just like, yeah, I have a hand of 5 punches and 1 card. And this is a pretty good hand.
Yeah, the other problem is that it hits annoying breakpoints. So if you do the math, even without supports, the Ino is 10-5, plus it gets power cross turn from its shuffle ability. So then it's 12k, and then 2k is 14k, which is like a really frustrating defensive number that gets over Miron, that gets over a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like
Only
if you're gonna get there before Miron, which means you're gonna be able to punch over Miron.
Yeah, only the Gigantors, like the no backups, 14k plus giant dudes get over.
And the worst part about it is that maybe sometimes they want that.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have other Inos in the waiting room...
Just change to the one you just killed.
Yeah.
And get another door.
Yeah.
And jam that on you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so not for nothing, very annoying deck. This is the type of standby deck I can get behind. A standby deck that has a relatively early plan and the payoff is significant throughout the rest of the game. My only complaint is Guilty Gear's lack of surrounding pieces around Ino. Testament is probably not possible for this deck. You just do not have the hand size to commit to Testament.
Yeah.
And so hand size is kind of its biggest problem. If there was another side finisher that you could run to try and like chip them a little bit to more for free, if there's a way to chip them for free, like unironically Ram might be good in this build, just by being like,
maybe
I put the Ram down and then I attack you and get a damage.
Yeah, honestly, maybe.
And like I'm not running bar and who cares?
Yeah.
So
potentially, but like the deck, I haven't really touched the deck since I got the list from Avis.
Right.
I've just left it because it's number one, she's been obviously
playtesting it and
forever.
You haven't, correct.
And number two, it's too soon to the tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
And
we gotta focus on actually learning the deck.
Exactly. But also what I will say is that just having fucking 4 of everything is perfectly all right. You know, we'll just make it happen.
We don't need specific mechanics if we just draw it all the time.
Yeah.
If everything's a 4 of, you'll just draw them.
Yeah. And then what the Jack of Swords really does for you is like you peer into the future and you're like, I'm gonna need this shit. You're fighting Atla, clock myself, bounce this and another guy back. All right, fix that. You have anti-early counters, guy that gives hexproof to 2 guys in front.
Yeah.
You have early plays, anti-early counter. My deck sucks. Refresh counter. I have played that refresh counter like 4 times. For joy. Last round, last night, I'm fighting a Hendrickson player. He has like a double or triple Hendrickson, and like I just fucking like triggered and penalty to climax, and there's 6 in deck, and then it was like the first Hendrickson comes down, block. The next Hendrickson comes down, block. Take the damage, go to 3. Another swing comes down. Refresh now! Just like it's so int that you have to go to 8 English locals, which is not always possible in most, you know, places around like the world generic. And then you have to go to a regional and cash that in.
Yeah, so
but you kind of would need that card if you're gonna play this list, because your deck speed, like, not great. We're not fixing our decks that well anytime soon.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
I hope it goes well.
That's true. And actually, you should also say right now either congratulations or I'm sorry for your loss.
Okay.
Because this comes out right afterwards. So whatever you just heard was the appropriate celebration for what we just did. Or if you heard nothing at all, then you'll know that things have gone poorly. But yeah, I'm gonna go to New York, and you will all see, and hopefully Avis gets to put her list and my list, which is just her list twice on her own website, and it'll be very funny. But that's all our show for today. So tune in next time after your next deck out, and don't you forget to take the refresh point.